What's up, everybody? Welcome to Console Wars Episode 6, your monthly podcast covering news and analysis of the never-ending struggle between Xbox and PlayStation. It's myself, Cameron, and of course, Seth over there. Seth, how are you doing? I was saying it before the show, it feels like it's been, even though we had one last month at the end of July, but like they were a little bit different than what we normally do. It feels like forever since we've done an episode proper of Console Wars.
Yeah, and honestly, we were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen this month. This has been the craziest new console generation rollout. So like we were like, do we need to wait to see if Xbox is going to do something or PlayStation is going to do something? But we are now here at the end of the month recording,
and still nothing.
Still nothing from the console part. Lots from the gaming and system part, but we'll get with that.
Oh yeah,
shortly.
We definitely will. There's a lot of information that I know we talked about it briefly on the Rocket Punch show, but definitely going to delve into a little bit more here that I'm really excited to get into because there was nothing major that happened, but like my thoughts is that a lot of some of the volleys that across the bow started happening.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and kind of landing where they ended up landing as we talk through here. But I'm really excited to get through it. We've actually got a lot of stuff to talk about, guys, so let's jump right into it here.
Can I say one thing first?
Go ahead.
I wanted to go on record. First off, my obligatory statement. The show is named Console Wars, but please be kind to each other. This is all in good fun. We are going to discuss the strategy of the console generation rollout. We are not here to debate why Phil Spencer is bad or good. We are not here to debate why Mark Cerny is, bad or obsessed with ears. We're not here to debate about people. We're here to talk about strategy. So that's one thing. Second thing, this thing's being recorded on August 30th. I know that the minute we record this, that next Tuesday, it's going to be, all right, we've got the price reveal and Series S announcement coming soon. PlayStation's like, we've got to show you the UI for the next console. Everything we would want to talk about is going to be announced this week. Happen. Mark my words. It's going to happen. But we're still recording this episode because you, the listener or viewer, deserve Console Wars content. So,
I do, 100%. And I that is likely to happen. That's probably what is going to happen.
Yeah.
But no, guys, this is Console Wars, our kind of special podcast we do here at Rocket Punch. You can listen to the show every month on podcast services. Just search for the Rocket Punch show feed, and it will show up through there each month. We'll also have the video available for you on YouTube. So if you like listening via video, you're more of a YouTube person, you can definitely check it out over there. If you want to know more about Rocket Punch and all the content I make for you, make sure you head over to rocketpunchgo.com. That is your one-stop shop for all the video streams and podcasts that are created and more. If you want to get early access to episodes of Console Wars and a whole lot of other bonus goodie stuff, make sure you head over to patreon.com/rocketpunch to see how you can do that there. A special shout out to our producers supporting us over there and on Twitch. Jossie M, Sam S, Jeremy M, Steven S, Adam C, and all of our Twitch subs there. Thank you very much for your continued support. I digress, guys. We're done talking. Let's get into the nitty-gritty state of play here. So we're going to sit down and talk strategy. We're going to revisit all of the kind of big, highlighted console-specific news from each, the Xbox camp and the PlayStation camp from the past month. We're going to break it down for you and give our thoughts on it here. Seth, man, this is going to be an interesting one. Who should go first? Do you want to do me with PlayStation first, or do you want to go with Xbox first?
Let me have you go first, just because for those that follow gaming news, you probably already know this, but if you don't, there's a lot more I feel to talk about with Xbox in August particularly versus PlayStation. Agree. I think that the opposite will be the case in September. That's my hot prediction. But for August, there's so much to talk about, and I think that it's kind of earth-shattering levels of things. And so let's start with PlayStation, figure out some stuff that's going on, and then we can kind of ease into Xbox. Is that cool with you?
That is perfectly fine.
Let's do it.
So PlayStation, the PlayStation strategy here. Of course, me being the PlayStation guy on the podcast here, we're going to talk about it. I've got 6 bullet points here that I wanted to bring up here because that kind of summed up August for PlayStation. Overall, kind of a quick glance, and then we'll talk more, of course, at the end of this, the PlayStation part, is I really think that the needle didn't change too much here. I think there were a lot of just debatable topics in the PlayStation camp that, whether, depends on how you feel, good or bad. I'm sure we'll have a discussion at the end of this here, but number one, the first big story here was PlayStation earlier in the month released kind of the questions on PS4 peripheral and accessory compatibility, and the big thing that came out of that is that I'm reading here from their PlayStation blog. Will DualShock 4 controller work with PS5 games? No. We believe that PS5 games should take advantage of the new capabilities and features we're bringing to the platform, including the features of the DualSense wireless controller. Now, that is to say that it doesn't work with PS5 games. You can still put PlayStation 4 games into the PS5 and use the DualShock 4 to play PlayStation 4 games. You just can't play PlayStation 5 games. So that was an interesting one here. Again, we're going to run through the points here, and then we'll talk about just kind of consume and digest everything. Isn't that what we've normally done, Seth?
Yeah. We run through, give the details, and then you'll kind of give, and then we'll have a discussion about how we feel that month went for them.
And so that was a really interesting thing, and I think this came off the heels of Xbox and detailing their kind of controller mentality, where basically you can plug your controller from an Xbox One to a Series X, and it will play across all generations and all games. And all that greatness. Next up here, awesome blog, GameIndustry.biz, as well, earlier in the month, announced that PlayStation 4 is still kicking ass. Don't be shocked. Over 112 million units have been sold of PlayStation 4s throughout its life cycle here. I'm actually looking to see number. Of course, some analytics there from GameIndustry.biz. The real strength within software. The Last of Us Part 2 sold 4 million units by June 21st, and they haven't updated the figure since, so I'm not sure how much they've sold there. But again, the pure fact that 100, it'll have 100, probably by this time it has 113 million consoles sold or more for a PlayStation 4. I mean, that is still tracking on PlayStation 2 numbers. One of the greatest consoles ever. I think that's the best-selling console under the Wii, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, PlayStation 2 is, I think PlayStation 2, I know Game Boy sits in there somewhere. Yeah. Game Boy Advance, so yeah, it's...
But I've got some thoughts on some of the statistics here. We'll talk about that more at the end here. Next point I've got here is that PlayStation did have an August State of Play. One of the things that I've continued to like about, and I've seen kind of their State of Plays get steadily better and as they improve more and listen to feedback, is they are very, very, very clear about what they're going to show at State of Play. You will know if you're going to get PS5 news or not. They're like very much like, look, you're going to get PS4 games. You're going to get updates on PS5 software. You will not be getting PS5 hardware details. Don't come looking for that. And I think that helps a lot with their announcements. I know the State of Play had some, wasn't anything too crazy, but we got to see the Crash Bandicoot 4, some more details on that. Hitman 3 revealed their VR mode for the game. That's pretty cool. So VR players are going to be able to handle that. We got more details about Bugsnax, the hit song of the summer.
Yeah, Bugsnax.
So we got more details.
We actually got to see what that looks like. Like, what does that game play like? That's the big question.
So that was really cool to see. A few new games that popped up. We got this was the first time we got Godfall details and actually got to see the Godfall game. So that was pretty cool. But, there was also another game that we hadn't seen yet, The Pathless. That was a pretty cool gameplay reveal they showed there, kind of detailing the open world aspect of that. So a pretty solid State of Play there, I definitely have to say. Next up here was, now we're slowly getting into the controversial stuff here. Actually, another piece of controversial news. I think one of the biggest uproars, and funny enough, it was like uproarious for maybe a couple of days to a week, and then it kind of dissipated, was the new Marvel's Avengers game that's coming out. Probably by the time this releases for everyone to listen to, it'll be out already. But it's been announced that Spider-Man will be an exclusive character to PlayStation owners who have Marvel's Avengers. You will not be able, at least as of right now, you won't be able to play it on PC or Xbox. If you want to play a Spider-Man, you have to get the PlayStation version of the game to play it. Which there were a lot of... The big thing I got from that was there was a lot of chatter about, like, is this anti-consumer? And we talked about it on the Rocket Punch show. I think a lot of it came from just what Xbox was doing with Game Pass, and I really think, like, the different strategies that both PlayStation and Xbox are taking this year, and Game Pass has kind of been that dichotomy, that shift in people's mindset there, and I think that's why this got a lot more vocal, Jimmy's wrestled than normal, but as I'm sure we'll talk about later on, it's exclusive. It sucks. It does suck, because I would love for Spider-Man to be on Xbox and PlayStation, but if they're paying for it, if there's some type of monetary gain there, that's their prerogative on what they want to do. I mean, people have done exclusive deals and exclusive content since the beginning of time for gaming, and I think that if that's a strategy that wins, and I think that that helps you put the reason we jokingly call it console wars, but the reason you like Xbox more than PlayStation, or PlayStation more than Xbox, and exclusives, I think, plays into that. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit here. Another one that happened was a little bit of a blow, but honestly, just because of the kind of what you talked about at the top of the show here, Seth, the fact that we don't have a lot of information, I really think kind of softens it a little bit here, is that Deathloop, which turns out was a PlayStation 5 exclusive, it's a console exclusive for like a year on for PlayStation, that has gotten delayed to 2021. That was originally going to be out around the end of this year, so that got pushed out, I think, to the second quarter of 2021. So that's going to be anytime between April 1st to June or July 31st there for when that game's actually going to get released. The more I've seen of that game, the more excited I am on it, and it's going to be good. Yeah, the 100% reason they've contributed to that delay is COVID-19, which we've talked about on the Rocket Punch show, Seth. Don't be surprised to see more games get delayed down the pipeline, especially in September and October as we get closer to these next gen console releases. And then the last one, which was funny, it's I don't think this is big news, but again, I think more stuff happened on the Xbox camp than Sony did on PlayStation this month. But Sony put up a PlayStation 5 pre-order page asking people, if you put in your PlayStation Online ID, you can register to pre-order the console. So whenever it is available for pre-order, you'll be able to go to the PlayStation's website and pre-order the console. Be one of the first people to pre-order it here. Which everybody, of course, is like, this is weird, as they're typing in their PSN ID so they can sign up for it. But
I have a question about this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I heard, and I can't tell if this is real or not, so I'm asking you, did they say that your activity on PlayStation will dictate your placement in priority?
I believe so. Pre-order reservations.
That is.
Well, it says if you go to their page. If you go to their page, I'll read their 100% everything on this page. There will be a limited quantity of PS5 consoles available for pre-order, so we will be inviting some of our existing consumers to be one of the first to pre-order one from PlayStation. The word specifically there, to pre-order one from PlayStation, so you're going to be directly buying from them. Pre-order reservations will be taken on a first-come, first-served basis, so once you get an invite via email, we encourage you to follow instructions and act fast. If you are interested in receiving an invitation, register below. If selected, we will contact you via email. If you learn more about the process, you can visit their FAQ section, and I think this is where it details it. Who will be selected? Who will be selected to receive an invitation? Our selection is based on previous interests and PlayStation activities. That's all they say in there.
That's a little weird.
If I receive, let me see if there's.
It's like a frequent flyer mile. It's like the more you fly, the better the perks, I guess. So, I mean, it makes sense. It's just
in order to pre-order, do I have to pre-order everything? How long will it take? Can I order more than one? Yeah, okay. That was the big one there. And,
yeah.
I think I remember reading that and I was kind of like, But then I thought, and I'm like, oh, well, one of the first people to pre-order it, probably the people that are really wanting to do this are going to be your hardcore PlayStation fans. Those usually tend to be the people that buy the console right out of the gate anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't play a lot on PlayStation, but I'm pre-ordering one day one. Like,
and I think they want to, if anything, as a brand, you want to be like, put it in the hands of our biggest fans so they can start telling people like, oh my god, this console is awesome, let me tell you why. And the most passionate people. So I get it, but I think the slight veil of like, if it's based on activity, and they were purposefully not specific on like what does that mean, PlayStation activities? Like, if I haven't played my PlayStation in a month, are you not going to consider me? I have no idea what the criteria is, but
I had heard that, and of course when I hear it, I hear it in this very negative connotation, and so I wanted to see if that was legitimate or not. So thank you for clarifying.
Oh, no problem. That's what we're here. Well, let's discuss here. That's more or less the big bullet points that I could pull up from PlayStation this month. What
are your thoughts? What do you think?
My thoughts on PlayStation this month, it was the safe month. They were like, we're just gonna coast, we're gonna cruise, we're gonna throw up some announcements to be clear to people, and I think those announcements. So let's get the small stuff out of the way first. Like we already talked about the direct pre-order page again. My thought is that your biggest fans are going to be the people that you want to get their hands on it there, and they'll check that activity. And they'll, so
I think it's very interesting because I've said this multiple times on the Rocket Punch show, but a lot of people are kind of freaking out about how late in the year we're getting a lot of console details. But I remind people that iPhones that are way more expensive than these consoles are going to be, they get announced about a month before they come out. Pre-orders generally go up about a week or 2 weeks after they're announced. So there's usually a pretty short timeline for a more expensive device. So it's not unfeasible that they announce these in September for pre-orders in October for launch in November, right? Like it's feasible that happens. And one of the key things that allows Apple to do that is they have an outlet to sell you a phone, right? Like Apple.com is where you are generally going to buy a phone day one, right? Like, AT&T, Verizon, your carriers will have some, but Apple has the most. And so when I saw PlayStation launch their store, I think it was late last year, that was kind of like I wonder if they're going to make it where direct and again, 2-3 years ago, GameStop would have said, cool, we're taking PlayStation 4 off the shelves. We're not selling it until you change your mind. But they can't do that. And they don't have the negotiating power that they used to have.
No power here.
Do you remember when they were opening up the copies or the console bundles and removing the digital code and putting physical games in so that people could just trade dude, it was insane. Because, a lot of those people will be like, just open the box and trade the game in to get an extra $40 off or $30 off. That was a huge thing for them because they got a bunch of new games for dirt cheap. And then when they started doing the digital code thing, they were like, we're not doing it.
What's going on? Yeah. Well,
and so it's really interesting to see that shift. But that's a conversation for another time.
But other points here, the smaller points I talked about, Deathloop, again, being delayed to 2021. I think that sucks. I think that would have been, again, the fact that I didn't even know until the last month or two that was a timed exclusive for PlayStation is a pretty big get for them. But the fact that it got delayed kind of does pull a little bit of steam or a little bit of wind out of the sails of the PlayStation launch lineup. But again, we don't know what either system's launch lineup is right now. So that's why I said,
let me ask you, what do you think the PlayStation needs for launch?
Like a game?
Like what games do you think they need to have as launch titles?
I think I don't know if, the only thing I don't know if there's a specific game that needs to be had. They just need a big exclusive game that wants to drive people there. And right now, knock on wood, Spider-Man Miles Morales looks to be that game.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's, it's Spider-Man 1.5. I don't think they haven't shied away from saying that. Like, it's very much like an Uncharted Lost Legacy style game, which Lost Legacy is great. It's not as long as the main one, but it still has a lot of great time. And the fact, I think I've talked about it to you before, but like the power of Spider-Man is very strong. And if they can launch with Spider-Man Miles Morales as a game, like when you go get your PlayStation 5, you can get Miles Morales to play. I think that will be a big get for them, because I think what's very interesting about this cycle are I think the cross-gen games are going to play a lot more of a role into selling these consoles because of COVID-19 this year. And I think, me as the PlayStation guy, I think the exclusives, regardless of what they are going to play a bigger mindset into the games, especially if games, especially exclusive games, are getting delayed. I think some people, like I said, when you buy your box, you want to have something to show people, like, this is why you need this box. Look at the ray traces, look at the 4Ks, and exclusives are a part of that. And I think that if exclusive games start getting, a lot of them get delayed, then you have to leverage on some other exclusive stuff, whether it's exclusive content or what have you, something that makes your console stand out. And I think that that is PlayStation's strategy. That's really, their strategy hasn't changed over the last couple of years. They're staying the course, and I think they're just learning from the mistakes of the PlayStation 3 and trying to pick up continue to keep the train rolling from this awesome generation that they've had with the PlayStation 4. So,
can I share my two PlayStation 5 exclusives that I think would be a grand slam?
Please.
I think that Miles Morales is a part of it. Miles Morales covers, that is the every game, right? Anyone can sit down and enjoy Spider-Man. Kids, big core gamers, right? I think there's going to be some discussion when that game comes out. They've already said the map is the same. It's just going to be in winter. So it's going to be a bit of a, Arkham Origins situation as far as the map's concerned. So I'm wondering if, people that put like 60 hours into Spider-Man, they're going to get in there and be like, oh, it's the map is still the same. The campaign's maybe 8 hours, but like, am I going to get another 60 hours out of this game? Maybe not. And so the flip side to this is Demon's Souls. I think if this console launches with the Demon's Souls remake and Spider-Man, it is already
the one
chef's kiss from. It's the 1-2, because that is a game you can put 60 hours, you could put 600 hours into. It's a game that most people have never played, right? Like, it was very much a cult game, but in a post Dark Souls 3 world where now everyone is on the Dark Souls train, that game is going to be real. I have a feeling that is going to be one of the highest selling games. I cannot remember the name of the studio right now. Can you help refresh me? That they're really good at doing all the remakes. They did Shadow of the Colossus. Bluepoint. It is going to be Bluepoint's top-selling game of all time, I think. It is. Demon's Souls being a launch title would be a grand slam.
I'd agree with you on that one.
So,
I mean, again, we'll have to see whenever this announcement comes out. I think we won't know the launch details of the launch games until we get the price. I think it'll be that announcement for either one. It's like, here are the games coming to PlayStation 5 at launch. Boom, 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 exclusive for that system, and then here's the price. That's when we're gonna get that.
Can I talk real quick about some PlayStation stuff?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So. All right, so I'm going to use this analogy. It's a console war, so we got to make it a little confrontational, right? So, PlayStation's the big kid on the playground, right? Like this is the kid that hit the growth spurt over the summer, is now giant, right? And nobody fucks with this kid, right? So, this kid's having a great year so far, right? Okay. So Xbox is used to be the big kid, right? Didn't get the growth spurt, right? Now the kids are not into Minecraft anymore. They're into Fortnite, and Fortnite's over there. So now we don't have this latent lead that we have. So we feel a little spiteful about it, right? So we're going to create this plan. We're going to create a plan to destroy the bigger kid. And we can't beat him in a raw fist fight, right? We got to find a way to undermine his leadership and his authority, right? So we're going to create this plan where it's all about, we want to inject these words like pro-consumer, anti-consumer. And I don't think Microsoft injected these words. People just pulled them out of their ass because they read it in a textbook or something. But at the end of the day, it works out. And then, so they deploy the plan, right? Well, the bully, or so not the bully, but like the bigger kid, because they're both bullies. Let's be clear in this analogy. Both of them are bullies. So the bigger kid is like, I see what you're doing there. That's pretty clever. All right, here's what we're going to do. So then the bigger kid goes and confronts the smaller kid and like comes out and is like, yo, you've been saying a bunch of shit about me and I don't like it. So we're going to finish this right here and right now. So, the smaller kid is like, you know what? It's time to nut up or shut up. It's time for me to reclaim my throne. Throws the punch. And that big kid knocks it aside and fucking knocks this kid out. All right? Completely ends him right there on the playground. That is what I feel like PlayStation did when they talked about Spider-Man coming to PlayStation 4 exclusively. When they talked about the Deathloop being exclusive, right? The only way to efficiently counter Xbox's cloud first mentality, play on whatever device you want, yada yada yada, everything we've talked about in previous episodes, the only way to counter it is, but you can't play this. It's the only way to counter it. It's like, yeah, you can play you can play Avengers wherever the hell you want. Play it on a toaster in the bathtub. Actually, don't do that. That's horrible. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Play it on a toaster in your kitchen. Play it on your phone on the toilet. Whatever you want, but you won't be playing with Spider-Man.
That's a good point.
It's the perfect way. Like, PlayStation in this game of chess made a great move, and they're gonna do it again. I hate it. They're going to do the same shit they did with PlayStation 4. They're not going to release a single game that matters for the first 3 years outside of the launch, right? They'll do maybe one little one that of course, you're going to defend as being a good game, but didn't really make a splash, right? They're not going to.
You don't know. You don't know nothing about.
They're not going to release anything for a year and a half, and they're just going to ride on the coattails of a bunch of third parties that they pay a shit ton of money to give them exclusive shit. Destiny, and then Call of Duty. Oh, sorry, got a little cough here. And then it's gonna work perfectly because people are gonna be like, of course I'm gonna play. Like, you've already seen it. Avengers, people are like, oh, I'm gonna just play it on PlayStation. Like, I want to play Spider-Man. Like, I'm gonna play it on PlayStation.
And I think we've talked a little bit on the past episodes when we were doing the live streams about kind of seeing the branch off, and again continuing to see the path where PlayStation is staying. Well, speaking purely on PlayStation right now, they're staying the course of. They believe in console generations. When you jump to the new one, you leave the old one behind. And I think, maybe it's because I'm the PlayStation guy. I don't know. But I think that is what gamers want. Again, they want to have the new shiny thing to show their friends when they get the new box. And it's not like, whatever that is, oh, boom, you're only going to be able to play Spider-Man on PlayStation. If you want the Avengers game, or even something like the 2 points that I had left: Spider-Man coming exclusively to the Avengers game, and PS4 controllers not working with PS5 games. That's Sony's mentality of like, no, we want to push the envelope forward. We want to, when you buy this console, we want you to be excited about the new experiences that you're going to get, and to help you justify like. Yes, I bought the PlayStation 5 because I get these new experiences. I get to play Miles Morales. I get to play Deathloop. I'm not going to be able to play those anywhere else. I can't play them on PlayStation 4. That other games I'll sit it over in the corner and then I'll play that. That's what they've done. That's what until this generation. That's what all gaming manufacturers have done, Microsoft included, and that is just Sony staying that same course because it hasn't steered them wrong yet. Especially in this generation with the PlayStation 4, their exclusives, it could be it could be said that their exclusive lineups this generation is probably one of the best exclusive lineups for a console ever, like rivaling Nintendo's House of Mario.
Whoa, now hold up here now. Breath of the Wild has entered the chat. Okay, hold up here now.
But I think that's really... There are two things I want to say, and I'm going to wrap up the PlayStation talk, and we'll switch gears to Xbox. Is that, number one, is like, again, that is... This month proved that is Sony's strategy. That's what they're doing. Is they're basically marketing and saying, "Hey, if you want to do this, if you want to do that, you want to play this, you want to play that, you come over to PlayStation's camp." We've got it's in a way that I think about it, or a way that it can be said is like, this is the PlayStation Club, and you see this club. You got Xbox Club, you got the PlayStation Club, and you see the PlayStation Club, and they're like, "Look." You walk in and you have Mark Cerny and Shiho Yoshida. All these people are your overseers, and they're like, "Hey, welcome to the Xbox Club. We want to let you know that if you come into the PlayStation Club, if you want to come to the PlayStation Club,
Freudian slip.
these are the perks. These are the benefits that you're going to get by coming to our club. You're going to be able to play. You're going to have exclusive games." You're going to have exclusive content for your third-party games. We're making a lot of deals. The money from your membership that you're giving us, we're putting that to work for you, the PlayStation gamer, to be able to enjoy these. Think of it like some luxury. I don't mean it in this way, but just from the general thinking, like the high-rise club, like fucking Delta Sky Mile, the Sky Club.
Yeah.
If you're paying extra for this, you get this room and you get these food and these benefits, and I think that is Sony's mantra and mentality. That they're still staying that course that game consoles have done every generation. Is like, if you come over to this camp, this is what you're going to get. These exclusive benefits, and it hasn't steered them wrong. Every time when The Last of Us Part 2 came out, when Ghost of Tsushima came out, when God of War, when Horizon Zero Dawn, when Bloodborne, when to some extent Death Stranding and Days Gone and all these other exclusive games, Uncharted 4, come out, people get these games. How many times have we seen when these games come out and it's like X million copies have sold in the first week?
Yeah.
So they're obviously, from a developer standpoint, like when you start your game's going over 1 million copies sold, like, you're doing pretty solid. Now for these bigger AAA titles, they got to do more than 1 million, but even like indie games and smaller studios, if you're hitting 1 million, you're doing really, really good. I mean, look at Fall Guys, and God only knows whatever deal they made with PlayStation to get it on PlayStation Plus, and if it's the most downloaded game of all time, I'm sure they've got some stipulations in their contract to get extra money depending on how many people download it. But I think I put it. This is how I put it on a episode of the Rocket Punch show. Is that people, when the Spider-Man news came out, people were like, "Is PlayStation anti-consumer?" And I heard on the Kind of Funny Games Daily in the podcast, I think they framed it perfectly when they said, like, PlayStation's not anti-consumer. They're pro-PlayStation consumer, and they're going to do what they can to bring you into the fold and keep you into the fold. It's the same thing that brands like... you may not want to think about it. It's the same thing that brands like Apple and Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Nintendo want to do, is they want to keep you in their ecosystem. Sure, they try different strategies to do that, but they want to keep you in that ecosystem.
I want to talk to you. I'm so glad you said that. I don't think we've really ever talked about this on Console Wars, and I'm not going to go too much on a tangent because I know we've got Xbox stuff to cover, but there's a lot of similarities in the way that Apple and PlayStation run their businesses. They are gigaton brands. They are both hardware-first companies. Now, they're getting into services because they're seeing how much money there is to be made there, but at their core, iPhones are about buying new phones to get the new features, right? You want the dual zoom, you want the portrait mode, you want, all of that is about new hardware. And Microsoft is selling you a service, right? And we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but Game Pass is very much about you do what you want. It's choice through abundance, right? It's do what you want, how you want to do it, and we just want you to do it with us. right? Like, same that Google does with Android. We don't care if you run it on a Samsung Galaxy, a Google Pixel, or BlackBerry but whatever, like whatever it is, we just want you on Android, right? Like, click on the Google Play Store and don't play Fortnite because it's not on there anymore. But that's the weird parallel I've always seen is like PlayStation is that hardware first company. And yeah, Apple wants Apple customers to feel special, and that is why people go and spend $1,200 on a phone that technically isn't as good as the $600 Android counterpart, because they're not paying for the hardware itself. They're paying for the ecosystem. They're paying for the experience. Even with stuff like Apple Care, like people go, they sit at a bar and they have a person help them versus I'm going to call this number, they're going to ship me a refurb phone. Like, it's just the whole organization is built around get them to buy the hardware from us so that it's not that we have a seat at the table, we are the table, yeah. Right? So that's my little tangent, but
oh, it's fine, and it's good to talk about that. That's why I brought like companies like Apple and Google and Amazon into that fold. The other point I think that talked about a lot about this month, and you couldn't really see it from the points I made, was no offense to Microsoft, but from a zeitgeist standpoint, it's really felt like PlayStation has been the one to bring next gen to people's faces. When you look at especially from a gameplay standpoint, when you watch the Ratchet and Clank trailer that we got a week or so ago, and a lot of the Godfall, and some of these other games, they've really been the ones to kind of push and show the gameplay first, and I feel like we haven't seen that a lot from Xbox, or at least the general consensus online is that we haven't seen the full power of X online from what this Xbox Series X can do, because it's got a little bit of extra horsepower over the PlayStation 5. But from, we talked about it last month on episode 5 when we watched the Xbox conference, like it's felt as though every time they show stuff or have a showcase, there isn't a game that people gravitate to and they're like, this is next gen, I'm so excited. And even from their release back in May, when they showed their showcase back then, there hasn't been one, but we can name a few from the PlayStation since. And they really haven't done a lot of that this month for Sony. But, the state of play, they showed Godfall. Even though they said no PlayStation hardware is detailed, they had a full breakdown of Godfall, and you got to see the gameplay and kind of see the ray tracing and stuff. When we had an opening night live for Gamescom, we got the Ratchet and Clank gameplay and how beautiful that game looks. And that's really very interesting, and I think that's one of the things that's played into Sony's pocket this month. Is that they're getting ahead and showing people this is what you're going to get next gen. Every time they start a video or have that little text at the bottom saying this game was captured on PlayStation 5. Literally PlayStation 5 hooked up to the TV, captured the gameplay. There you go. That, like, seeing that, and I think that Microsoft hasn't had that moment yet.
Well, I don't think you're being super fair, because Microsoft has a big, giant Xbox Series X launch title that it is very excited to showcase, right? Right?
Sorry, I'm
Wait, what?
That is a...
No. Give me that. Let me...
Check it out. What's going on?
Is it Xbox time?
I'm done. Are you done? I hand over the place.
I saw a segue and I'm taking it.
That was a perfect segue. Speaking of games, let's talk about
Speaking of games, traditionally I like to do the Xbox recap chronologically, so you have context for when things happen. But fuck that, because Halo Infinite got delayed this month, and I think that is probably the biggest single next-gen news that we have gotten since, I'd say, the reveal of the hardware. And I would say it's even bigger because we don't even know all the details about the hardware yet. We know what they look like. But, like, Halo Infinite getting delayed was in and of itself a weird omen, but but then the weird. So let me walk. So it all starts with a tweet. Good old fashioned. You gotta break bad news. You put it in an image. You slap it in a tweet. So I'm gonna read just a quick excerpt from this. Oh, I'm so sorry. I opened the wrong link.
You're good.
There we go. So I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it is quite long. But gotta move my. There we go. The decision to so essentially they announced it as delayed until 2021. They did not say when in 2021, just 2021. The decision to shift our release is the result of multiple factors, keyword, that have contributed to the development challenges, including the ongoing COVID-related impacts affecting us all this year. I want to acknowledge the hard work that 343 Industries, who have remained committed to making a great game and finding solutions to development challenges. However, it is not sustainable for the well-being of our team or the overall success of the game to ship it this holiday. So, a couple of keywords there that I want to draw out. One is several factors, I think. I'm sorry. I missed it. Oh, multiple factors, not several. Multiple factors. The other is the welfare of the team. I think that there's a little bit of everything here, right? There's some, COVID-related delays. There's we don't want to crunch delays, and a bit of a shadow of, hey, maybe the fact that this happened a week and a half after its not so great reveal. We saw some of that. So I guess this kind of all started when Xbox showed Halo Infinite. We talked about that en masse from the last episode where we did the Xbox showcase. I would say the reaction was mixed in hindsight. Wouldn't you agree? Like, mixed was the way to describe it. Some were excited, but generally the consensus was kind of meh.
Positively mixed. Yeah, best way I could describe it.
And so some additional details came out after that. So before it was delayed, we found out through one of the traditional, like, hey, it leaked, and then they confirmed it via Twitter. But Halo Infinite multiplayer is going to be free to play and is going to run at 120 frames per second on Xbox Series X. So this was huge because making it free to play is going to put it in that same category as Apex Legends, as Fortnite, where it is going to be able to access so many gamers on PC, on Xbox, maybe even on xCloud, if they're subscribed through Game Pass Ultimate. So this was a pretty big deal. And the fact that they were going to be talking about multiplayer in August, this was kind of like, okay, cool. Like, we're going to learn more about multiplayer during August and probably see this in action. Well, surprise, surprise, we find out that Halo Infinite as a whole is going to be delayed. Through this, there was a lot of information that came out around it. I'm going to try my best to encapsulate it into some small nuggets here that we can consume. So, Phil Spencer is the MVP because that man announced the Halo delay 2 days before he was scheduled to go on Gary Whitta's Animal Talking talk show, which is essentially what it sounds like. It's an Animal Crossing talk show. So the characters load into Animal Crossing world. It's all this, traditional late night talk show setup, right? And Phil Spencer was there, and Gary, if you've listened to Gary Whitta, he's the writer of Rogue One. He's a Hollywood guy, but he's also was the editor-in-chief of PC Mag for years. He is a no bullshit kind of guy, and he just asked straight up, like, you said multiple factors, what does that mean, right? And, Phil had a very good, PR response, but the consensus was after the reception, right, of Halo, there was a council meeting, sounds like. And as a designer, I've been in these meetings before, right? Where you're like, oh shit, things are not going great. What do we need to do, right? And you start to come up with new ideas, called ideating, right? Coming up with new ideas, how can we solve this? No dumb ideas, right? So someone suggested, hey, what if we break out multiplayer, launch it this holiday with the Series X, and do the campaign next year? I think I feel this way. I think a lot of gamers feel this way, that would kind of, in my eyes, would kind of undermine a lot of the excitement for Halo Infinite. Yeah. Because people are really excited to get their hands on a complete package and enjoy it, right?
Yep.
So they decided not to do that. They decided to push forward with a delay. So, all right, Halo Infinite's delayed. It might be because the game's looking rough. It might be because they don't want to crunch. It might be because this. Well, then...
It's not over yet.
We get a couple other things.
Oh, there you go. I broke my... There we go, okay.
And responsible for a lot of the early Halo success. He worked on Halo 3. He did some work with ODST, all kinds of stuff. So he even worked on like original Halo. Like he's just a very important part of the Halo, the early saga, right? The early world of Halo. So he was brought onto the team to help ship Halo Infinite. This reads a little bit like, hey, we're bringing in some extra support to maybe try and get this game back on track, particularly with the campaign. It's one of the things. So his tweet says, I'm thrilled to join Halo to help them ship Halo Infinite. As the project lead for the Halo Infinite campaign, I will be supporting the team's existing great leaders and empowering them to do their best work. So he's going to be working on single-player content for that game. So, yeah.
Okay.
Then found out a couple of days later, Certain Affinity, which is a support development studio, joins with 343 to kind of help work on Halo Infinite. So this is essentially, they're starting to outsource to try and speed up, or I guess reduce the amount of time that this game is going to take to make. Overall, and there was a lot of other things that came out. There were a couple of reports, allegedly kind of stuff. I didn't include that here because, it talked about like senior leadership being more invested in the Halo TV show than the game. And I feel like a lot of that comes off as maybe an attempt to skew.
And I remember hearing that was debunked a little bit as well. So
yeah,
I'm glad
a lot of that was debunked. And when people start to see, like, because you see the ship was turning south slowly, right? When people see that, especially in this, I know it's right up there, but like the console wars landscape, they start to try and look for, additional jabs they can make. And I think Halo was really, they put it out there, right? And, it was rough. It's rough. So we'll talk about it more in the kind of the discussion portion of this. But for right now, that was kind of the Gigaton announcement. There were some other minor announcements that I think you were talking about. Sony's month was very, hey, they're staying the course for we have a new generation, best place to play, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Xbox, very similar. They're staying the course with their cloud-first mentality. So first big one was xCloud gets a release date. It is coming in September. And it is going to be bundled with Game Pass Ultimate, which this was, a lot of people said, boy, it'd be nice, but we never actually got that confirmed. They always danced around it whenever it came up in interviews, but it is going to be bundled with Game Pass Ultimate. So if you have Game Pass Ultimate, when September rolls around, that app is going to show up and you're going to be able to play xCloud right from the start.
That's the only way you can play xCloud too. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole, like 100%. Right now, there's no plans. They have not announced for Windows 10. They've not announced any work that it's going to be doing with Xbox Series X or Xbox One. It is strictly mobile devices. But due to the way that the iOS App Store is run by Apple, it's very secure. It is also highly regulated. Where you can purchase content, they are very strict about basically how payments are processed. They'll say to protect users, and it is to protect users, but it's also to make sure that they get a 30% cut. So like there's a dual thing there, and I don't think that we've talked about this already. I don't think the 30% cut is a bad thing. I think that is okay for a business to charge to run the business. However, that being said, their review process, basically when an app is submitted to the store, it is reviewed to make sure that it is not going to steal your information or use your phone data to mine Bitcoin or, put porn in a kid's game, like that kind of stuff, right? And these are real problems that like developers try, like especially shady devs that you probably never heard of, right? There's never be people that you would ever hear of, but they try and put stuff on the App Store to make a quick buck, right? And so Apple does a lot to protect, especially kids from that. And games is one of those sections that's mostly consumed by kids. So they're very strict about how games are reviewed and approved. Well, xCloud is bringing all these games, right, to the platform. They're not really, they go through Xbox's review process, but that's not Apple's. And so essentially, Microsoft just said, hey, we can't put xCloud on iOS, period. Like, it's just not happening. So there was a beta build that allowed you to play one game. It was Master Chief Collection. That beta build expired, and they said there's no plans to release further betas or to release the product on there at all until Microsoft can change their policies regarding approval of games, because they can't submit every Xbox One game ever made to be approved by Apple, right? Like, that's just not going to happen, right? And then, of course,
do all 100 games on Xbox Game Pass to show up on
Well, I mean, the idea, I think, is that every Xbox One game will eventually be on it, and every Series X game will be on it. Like, every game moving forward will be on it, and Xbox would, of course, have to sell that through their app, and Microsoft would take a 30% cut, and yeah, nobody really wants to do that. So yeah, that happened. So it's great that xCloud is coming. I've heard some people talk about how they're, considering platform swaps to Android so they can enjoy it. I pulled out my old Kindle Fire tablet. I'm going to root this bad boy. I was like, I forgot I had this, so I'm going to root this bad boy and see if I can give it a shot. But I'm an iPhone user. I have iPhone, I have iPad, I have MacBook, I have an iMac. I have this Windows PC for gaming only, but it's built to be a gaming machine, so I don't need xCloud on it, right? So this bummed me out big time, but we'll talk about that in the recap section. Two more things. So I'm going to actually talk about this one first because I love it. So if you look behind me, you'll see a couple of screenshots from what Microsoft is calling the new Xbox experience. I know it's nice and confusing because they also called the current Xbox experience the new Xbox experience 2 years ago when it came out. However, basically what Microsoft did is they took the design language that they've kind of been experimenting with in the Xbox PC app. All of that is kind of following Microsoft's new design philosophy, and I could talk about this shit for hours, but I'm not going to. Long story short, Microsoft is trying to get their apps on a unified look and feel, so they don't want Microsoft Office to look and feel like Xbox. That's not what I'm saying, but they want them to they want them to have enough of a connection where when you look at Office, you're like, oh yeah, that's like a businessy version of the Xbox. And you look at Xbox and you're like, oh yeah, that's like a playful, fun version of Microsoft Office, right? Like that's what they're going for. So you can't really see a whole lot here, but the big takeaway from this is that the new dashboard in function will be very similar to the current dashboard. I actually have this on my second Xbox One S. It's in the alpha preview. Okay. I've been able to play with it. I'll give you a heads up. Rounded corners and glowing borders. Those are the two big things, right? It is so super fast. So from a performance standpoint, it is very fast.
Which is good. That's really that's a main issue for me on the dashboard.
Yeah, the speed has always been an issue, and I think once we get the Xbox Series X out, like load times are gone. There's no more waiting, and so they've kind of updated this. They also updated the store. I think the store's got a lot of quality of life improvements. But one of the big things they really wanted to push for is a unified experience across console, PC, and mobile device. Because I do believe, I mean, I'm a designer. I make mobile interactions each and every day of my life. Mobile is the primary means of input for every human being on planet Earth. I will say that blanket statement right here. Mobile has become the main way that people interact with technology, and that includes games. Now, I know a lot of people, they always turn their nose up and they're like, oh, I don't like mobile, blah, 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 blah. But Cameron, let me ask you, you played Ghost of Tsushima, correct?
Yes. You
love Ghost of Tsushima's photo mode, correct?
Of course, it's awesome.
When you take those photos, where do you put those photos?
Well, when you take them, they're just on PlayStation's Xbox.
But where do you actually share them as a
from the
person,
from
as
the
a
phone.
human?
I would share from the phone.
You share them from the phone too?
And I share from the phone and on the console.
But what platform do you share them on? I'm just curious now. Like where would you share those photos? Like, would you put them on a social media site? Would you put them through PlayStation?
Oh, social media.
Through social media. So, and where do you mostly use social media? On your phone. So, like, what I went through that huge, embarrassing spiel to say that when you look at how gamers want to use their phone, There's examples that Microsoft gave, such as you take a screenshot on your console.
Okay.
It now on the new experience, it shows up on your phone as a push notification. You press one button and you can share it straight to Twitter. You can share it through their built-in, community system, Facebook, Reddit, wherever you want to, you can share it. Other fun little things. Your profile now has the ability to link to Discord and your other profiles kind of throughout the area. So they're kind of trying to make maybe your Xbox profile a little bit more of a hub.
Yeah.
Definitely don't think they're integrating Discord. They're not doing that. They're just making it where similar to you can put your
similar
bio.
To Discord, where you have if you click on a person's name, you have their bio, and then you can see oh, that's your Xbox gamer tag, that's your PlayStation NID, and you can click those and go to those places.
Yeah. And I think the last thing specific is the purchase and management of your console. I think Microsoft really foresees that most people will manage the data of their console from their phone. So you can already do this in the Game Pass app with Game Pass titles. Mm-hmm. With the new Xbox experience, it will come to everything. But basically, if you buy a game, you can download it to your console right from your phone. So it's ready to play when you get home. If you need to free up space to make room for that game, you can delete a game from your console straight from your phone.
Yeah,
all those features
that's the new part
are great.
That you can't do. You've been able to download games, but you haven't been able to let me clear some space off from my phone in order to
exactly. So there's a lot of other called UX or user experience improvements that they've made, but they kind of walked through this. Major Nelson did one of his interview podcasts where he walked through with a bunch of different UX folks from the Microsoft team. All in all, it looks really sharp, but it also looks very similar to the current Xbox One experience. It's just faster and a little sleeker. So we'll talk about what we think about that in a bit. Lastly, this is great. I love when this kind of stuff happens. So Lockhart, whatever you want to call it, most people have assumed it's going to be called the Series S because it follows that naming structure they've used so far. And honestly, S has been used all the way back from the original Xbox. If you remember the Xbox controller, there was the Xbox controller S. Remember that?
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that
redesigned one that wasn't the Duke. Basically within the first year they'd replaced the Duke entirely with. That was called the controller S. So S has been with Microsoft for a long time on their devices side. But what happened here is essentially some new controllers got out. These are rebranded, updated controllers. They're nowhere near as drastic as Sony's DualSense, but it has the share button and that kind of thing. They went ahead and got out because obviously they're selling through the old stock, and as the old stock runs out, I think they accidentally sent out some new stock. And in that, you can pull out the little warranty book, and in the warranty book, it gave 2 bits of information. One is that the name of it works with compatibility with Xbox Series X or Xbox Series S.
No!
So, when they inevitably announce that they're going to be revealing that this week, probably, that the week that we're recording this, we can at least tell you it's probably going to be named Series S. The other thing is they gave a warranty expiration date, and it was set November 9th, 2021, which if you follow the traditional 1-year warranty, that's a probable release date for this. So all in all, that was Xbox's month. I would say Halo is the shadow that kind of reigned over this entire month. But Cameron, I want to jump right in with you. I've been talking nonstop. What are your thoughts? Tell me your feelings. What's your pulse on Xbox this month?
Xbox this month? My thoughts. Yeah, take a minute, gather your thoughts here. I'll give my thoughts, then you can give yours on Xbox. Xbox, they went through the tumbler, I think, this month. And I agree with you that there was good here, but I think the Halo Infinite delay, I don't want to say nullified it, but put a very dark cloud over the Xbox Series X this month and potentially the launch of the console. And again, this is me, the PlayStation guy. Talking about having something exclusive for your people to play, to say this is why you need to play this system. And the problem with it isn't that Halo's delayed. The problems are, as you detailed, Seth, at least, is it got pushed to 2021. We don't know when in 2021. And based on the information that we got from little stories and bits over this last month of Phil on Animal Talking and Joseph Staten on 343 and Certain Affinity, this makes me think that it's not coming anytime soon. I'm not going to be shocked if this ends up being like a fall 2021 game.
Can I ask you a question? Because yes. I would normally think that this is insane, but I also thought that delaying Halo Infinite out of the launch window was insane. So, if we get to June of next year, and they're working, and they're like, we think we've got the right path, but it is going to take more time. Because also, we're not guaranteed that COVID is going to end anytime soon, right? Like,
that's true.
We could still be facing this June of next year. What happens, in theory, if this game gets pushed beyond 2021? Specifically, given what is happening right now with the game and the way it looks, a lot of the criticisms were on the visual fidelity of the game, and then you're also looking at launching the game, I would say 2 years after you've kind of end of life to the previous generation. Like, yes, the 1S is still available, but the 1X is already EOL or end of life.
I would
What
say,
do you think?
I think it would be fine because Xbox has the pedigree. Xbox is a very large brand. It's a AAA brand. People, when I hear Halo, I'm like, yeah, let's play it. I think that if it slips into 2022, then it's not going to. I mean, it's not going to have the gravitas that it would have had at launch in its current state right now, going into 2021. I think, but if it's 2022, I think it's going to lose a lot of that luster, and it's going to. I think some people are going to forget about it because, especially if your competition starts rolling out more exclusive stuff to pull people in to that into their camp. Hey, the reason for that now that they could change that if they have other games big, I don't say exclusive, but like big title games that they can put under the Xbox banner to say this is why you need to play it on Xbox under their camp. But that kind of brings me back to the point of why I think that. And my personal thought is that Xbox Series X is in a little bit of trouble because Microsoft put so much effort over the last year or two into pushing that. This is the game. We got the world's most powerful console with one of the world's biggest brands coming at launch. They put so much not even developer money, but marketing money into telling people you want to buy an Xbox Series X because Halo Infinite's going to be there day and date on Xbox Game Pass across the board. And there was nothing else. It's like when you're just standing on a thin sheet of ice and you have no protection to, if that sheet of ice breaks, you're in the water. And I think that,
Halo's not a thin sheet of ice. It's a big sheet of ice.
Yeah, but the analogy, you're correct.
It is a single sheet of ice.
It felt to me that was their plan going into the holiday. They put all the eggs in the Halo Infinite basket, and when it got delayed, it hurt them. I think from a perception standpoint around there. Not to say that that Game Pass isn't worth it. It is, again, the best deal in games. You need to have Game Pass regardless of where you're playing at. But I think that it pulled a lot of steam off of the Series X launch, and especially talking about a year where, especially after the reveal of the game and people kind of criticizing its look, now that game is delayed, deservedly so we can work on polishing the game up and getting it ready, because the 343 can't have a mistake like that again, like the Halo Master Chief Collection, like Halo 5 campaign, and to not have that at all.
Did you not say like Halo 4 campaign?
I said Halo 5 campaign. Halo 4 campaign is wonderful.
I'm trolling you. I know you love the Halo 4 campaign.
I love Halo 4.
Multiplayer? But
yeah, multiplayer, but the single player, love it.
Yeah.
But I don't. The question I ask is what is your reason to get not a PlayStation, but an Xbox Series X this fall? And I think that the thing that hurts it almost, Halo Infinite's delay, in my opinion, almost had a domino effect with with State of Play and everything like that, because you were so excited, dude. Game Pass is going to be great. You got this huge AAA game coming to Game Pass day one from Microsoft Studios that a lot of people care about, and now you don't have that on launch. And so now people are saying there's like, well, I wanted to get an Xbox Series X so I could play Halo Infinite on my big screen, but now that it's not coming to, it's not even coming this year, yeah, you could still get an Xbox Series X to play Game Pass, but then you're just like, well, but I could still play those games everywhere else. And I think for me, a lot of people, like, they wanted the Series X so they could play Halo in 4K on their big screen at home. And that not being there almost had a domino effect where people, I think, and it's not bad, I don't think, in Microsoft's sense, because, again, as we've talked about before, if they can get more people on Xbox Game Pass, it still gets people into their ecosystem. I think it's bad from a console selling standpoint. Xbox talks a lot about the player is the central focus of that. Okay, cool. A console is one of the pillars of that player base that's around them, and I think that Halo Infinite getting delayed has put a shadow on the console portion of that. And to where, since this console wars were walking right into where Sony, a lot of people, I still say if, because I still have doubts if, it's been kind of quiet, but I think there's a good chance that Miles Morales can launch with the system. But if it launches with the system, that's their reason for you to get a PlayStation 5. And it's the fact I can say, I said it when Game Pass was announced years ago on multiple shows here, that if I have a very powerful PC, and if Xbox is releasing their games day and date, and based on Xbox's plan and what they want, and the players being the central focus, do I really need to get an Xbox Series X on day one when I can just sign up for Game Pass and I can play those games on my PC?
Yep.
And I think that's the big thing here for their State of Play. I think that was the biggest thing. I mean, the Series S controller that's just a fucking bad roll of the dice, man, and it sucks a lot, because I think we talked about it at the Xbox show with Fable. If Fable had not been leaked ahead of time, that would have been a huge announcement. And I think that's going to be the same for the Series X, is that whenever Microsoft announces their next video conference, it's going to be like, okay, just when they're going to be excited about the price, but the big things are like, show us the Series S. We know you got it. It's been leaked. Just show it to us.
Honestly, Cameron, I thought about this a lot this year, and I'm going to just have a little bit on leaks. I like surprises. I know that surprises are a subjective thing. Some people don't like them. Some people love leaks. I am very against leaks because I like the show, right? Like, I like the showcase. I like the.
You want the song and dance. You want to
I want the song and dance. It's. I think of myself as like the princess, and my suitors have come to try and win my hand, right? And I'm like, ooh, show me the new Marvel skins in Fortnite. Will I give you my time, or will I go over here to undermine? Like, it's fun, right? Like, and so I forgot what I was going with on this. I lost my point. So when I look at what leaks do to a lot of game releases, it really makes me just want to be like, you know what? Just do what Apple does. Be like, you know what, retailers? You'll get it when you get it. But we want to be the place. Like, I would love if Sony and Microsoft both said, you know what? The best place to buy an Xbox or PlayStation is from our store. We're offering free shipping, launch day delivery, which who knows with the fucking mail system being the way it is right now, if that will be the case. But what if they could come out and say, you can pre-order here right now, and we are going to have tons of, just like Apple does with iPhones, right? Like, they say, yeah, you can pre-order from Verizon, but guess what? Those sell out within seconds because that's where everybody goes, right? And they only have, a fraction of what Apple has. But if you go to Apple, the experience is way better. They actually talk you through, like, instead of 8 different product pages for different phone sizes and different colors. They just pop up one page and it's like what color you want, what size you want. You know, like it's a better user experience, right? It's not a store that's trying to sell a bunch of other shit. That page is to sell the iPhone, right? Yep. I wish they would do that with these, because then it would allow them to not say a word. Like Fable would, you know, if it's going to leak, it's going to leak from a non-retail source, because we even joke about Walmart Canada. Like it's just every year there's a Walmart Canada. And so I really hope that Sony is, with this pre-order thing they're doing, they're starting to look at that and be like, you know what? I'll say this very, very boldly and proudly. You don't need GameStop. GameStop is a moot point, and at this point, if it wasn't for next gen consoles, they'd be done next year. The consoles will probably keep them through 22 or 23. But mark my word, the dawn of 2024, we're gonna sit back, we're gonna enjoy some champagne, and we're gonna be like, hey, remember GameStop? And it's gonna happen. So, that being said, I want to bring it back to Halo. I want to bring it back to Xbox. Yo, man, this was rough. Yep. This was probably... Listen, Xbox has been through some shit. But I have felt worse about the Xbox brand this month than I did back in 2013. When...
Oh, what?
The One. Because when the One happened, I remember there was a lot of, like, off-record interviews about what this could mean, right? Like the idea of basically what family sharing ended up becoming, right? Like where you and all of your family members have one shared payment method. And if you buy it, like if my girlfriend buys a game and we're in a family group, then I get to play her games regardless of where I am, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to be on her home console, right? I could be on any console because it's a shared license, right? That was a big part of that original plan. Yes, the DRM was all there, but that was to protect that experience, right? So I remember being kind of excited about the idea of like, oh man, that'd make it super easy for me to share friends with games with my friends and family, right? Like if, everybody does this, like, you'll have a friend on your Netflix account, right? And as long as you tell your friend like, hey, when you buy something, it's going to go through my credit card, send me some money, like it can work out, right? And like, yeah, is that technically a violation? Yes, but people use it that way. However, this week has been a lot of, and I'm going to say that probably what hit me hardest was looking at what happened with xCloud. Because xCloud to me was going to turn the Xbox into the Nintendo Switch for me. It was going to allow me to play Xbox games from my bed, from a restaurant while I'm waiting to get seated. Remember when we went to restaurants? But it was going to allow me to basically get everything you love about the Nintendo Switch, but in the Xbox ecosystem, with all the games that don't come to Nintendo Switch, or come to Nintendo Switch not looking that great, right? Because it's running everything natively. So it was going to be the perfect blend. I'm not switching phones to play xCloud. Not happening. Never. And now I'm in the situation where it's like, well, like, okay, that's a bit of a bummer. But we still got Halo.
Oh man! No,
so
not really.
The way I think I described it to you as this: I was #shook this month, and it's very frustrating for me because I am also trying to plan for next gen purchases. Particularly, my girlfriend is going to get a PlayStation 5, no question. She's going to get the disc drive one, easy. I was going to get the Series X. It's going to be fine. I play hers when I want to play games on that, and then I want to play on a Series X, play on mine. Very simple. There's nothing to play on Series X. There's really not. The medium, cool looking game.
It does look nice.
Not a system seller. Scorn. I don't want the droopy wall dicks. I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. So then I'm like, okay, well, but it's going to be so powerful. But then I stop, and the horrible marketing Seth comes out, and marketing Seth says, well, if you were selling the Xbox Series X, what would be the biggest danger to selling those consoles? Because it's not the PlayStation. I'll tell you, the PlayStation 5 is not the biggest danger to the plummeting potential sales of the Xbox Series X. Do you know what it is, Cameron?
No.
It is the Xbox One X. Because that machine was $299. Will run most modern games at 4K, and Microsoft has said that it was going to be supporting it for at least another year. So when they stopped selling it the minute that they started talking about Series X, seriously, beyond just like the reveal, right? They stopped selling it back in like June. That told me, okay, there's a reason they chose to do that, right? Like they're still selling the 1S as a value option, and you know that's going to work about as great as you'd like. I have a 1S, and I was playing World War Z on it with my friend, and I was like, you know what, dude, I'm switch. Hold on, I'm going to play on the computer. I got it on Epic for free.
Well, and also just quick aside too, like piggybacking up on that, the fact that they Microsoft always had that interview with Phil where he was like, the next year or two we're going to have games that you'll be able to play cross generation. I'm summing it up very, very, very quickly, but where you'll be able to we don't want to force you to next generation. And then I remember that from July, the showcase where there were a lot of games that didn't have that Xbox One S or Xbox One tag on it, and I think even through August we've seen, because of the Halo delay and a couple of other games getting delayed, that's kind of unraveled a little bit, and that does have me concerned about. So but go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so speaking on that, so then we get to this game showcase, and you're right. Like I went back and looked at a lot of these, and you're right. Xbox One, the word one was missing. You know what was not missing? Windows 10.
Yep.
So I think it's pretty safe to say, Cameron, that Xbox showcase was more a showcase of Game Pass than it was of the Series
100%.
X.
Yeah.
And so this gets my brain running, right? I've said this before. I did the 3-year deal. I also won one of Major Nelson's Free Code Friday contest. So I have Game Pass through January 2023. I'm set, baby.
Oh, you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. The thought that has come to my mind is, okay, the game I was really excited for is Halo. Not coming this year. Maybe not coming next year. We'll see. When it does come, I can promise you one thing. It's going to be in a dope-ass bundle.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a dope-ass bundle. And my thought process was, well, my 1X is going to cover me for at least a year for anything I'd want to play on the couch. But honestly, I've found now that a lot of those Game Pass games have cloud saves between PC and Xbox.
Yep.
I started playing Undermine on the Xbox One X. I switched to the PC. I was like, man, it runs better on my PC. It's a pixel game, but it still runs better. Like, it's easier to play. It's probably refresh rate more than anything. And so it basically created this whole cacophony web of ideas where I was like, you know what? If I remove my, open up my mainframe. I'm going to pull out my Microsoft Love chip for a minute. And I'm going to run these calculations as what should I do as a person who loves video games, right? I've said this before. I'll say it again. Do not fall in love with brands. Brands will betray you. I love Apple. I love Xbox. But as I'm about to talk to you about here, there are things that Xbox can do that can turn me off. There are things that Apple can do that can turn me off. And when I remove that Xbox Love chip and I start to run the numbers, I'm like, man, I'm really excited for Demon's Souls. I'm really excited for Spider-Man. Those are games I want to play. I think they're going to be launch titles. Ratchet & Clank looks great. Deathloop, insta-buy. 4 games within 6 months that are going to be PlayStation exclusive. And I was like, okay, well, what about Xbox? It's not there. So I get to this point where I'm like, sorry, let me finish one more thing.
No, you're good.
I get to this point where I'm like, it is a better value for me, and I will be happier because I also know that I don't like jumping between a bunch of different platforms. I do like to play wherever it is best played at, and I like to stick with that. And I'm like, it is going to be a lot easier for me to just play console games on PlayStation and then get games that I want to play on PC until Halo Infinite comes out. And then at that time, I can evaluate how I've been playing. And it sucks to say because I'm the Xbox dude.
Look,
it really sucks, dude.
I will pull up a chair. We will welcome you to the dark side.
It's not the dark side. It's the light side. That shit is white as... It is so white, dude. It is so white.
I guess, yeah, this year it is.
Just listen, I'm Darth Turner. All right, just got to change my handle. I guess I'm going to be Jedi Master Turner now. Maybe I can be... Can we take Turner and make it Yaddle? So can it be like Tattle or something? I'm done. But yeah, it really sucks because all of this, it's a combo, right? It's not just like a single like Halo delay. Yes, I'll fucking deal with a Halo delay, right? Like I love Xbox, but it's the fact that Halo's not getting delayed because it's COVID delay. It's getting delayed because the game's not looking good, and they're bringing in talent and they're bringing in extra help to try and make it look good. And now shit may be on fire with Miles Morales, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
And out of sight, out of mind. As long as the thing they ship is good, that's what matters. And so at this point, I'm going back to my annals. Sea of Thieves, probably one of my favorite co-op experiences this generation. Did not ship super amazing. I think it's a better game now than it was then, but I can't bring myself to continue playing it a lot because there's so many other games to play. And I already put like 60 hours into it back when there was barely anything to do. So it's kind of like... So I look at that. I just look at the stuff that Xbox has been delivering, and it just hasn't been there. And I've always told myself, next year's going to be it. Next year's going to be it. Next gen's going to be it. Next gen's going to be it. And now I'm here, and I feel like Microsoft doesn't really want the Series X to be the breakout killer from the start. I think they're going to play the long game when it comes to power. Like, I think the thing's going to be more powerful than the PlayStation 5, and you're going to start to see maybe some weirdness in games, like frame rate cuts and PlayStation depart. Like, that might happen, and that will erode faith over time. But as far as things that are coming in 2020 and 2021, PlayStation has definitely got the lineup. I'm going to play Horizon. I'm going to play God of War. I'm going to play whatever From Software does on PlayStation because I've always played Dark Souls on PlayStation. So it's like, at that point, it's like a controller thing. And the last thing, Cameron, I'm sorry I've been ranting.
Are you okay?
The last thing, it's going to happen. I'm going to put my hands on a DualSense. And if the DualSense feels good, I will probably play most of my console games on PlayStation next generation. Because that has been my chief complaint outside of cloud save shenanigans, but whatever. I bought fucking PlayStation Plus. I bought it. I did it.
You got Fall Guys.
I want Fall Guys. I want Spider-Man. And those are both on PlayStation. So it's one of those where I'm just really looking at it and I'm like, you know what? It sucks to say this. It really does because
I just had the thought, like, Fall Guy, they could legitimately, but kind of in a scummy way, legitimately say, if you want to play Fall Guys on PS5, you that's the only place you can play at console is on PS5.
It is the only way. If you asked me, hey Seth, how would you counter Xbox with the knowledge that I have of like just all the weird shenanigans I know that Xbox does, I know that the cards they've been playing. If you asked me, Seth, I need you to kill them. What would I do? I'd be like, just make sure they don't have access to it. Like, don't, let them release all the things they want across all the different platforms, but don't make it where if a game comes out on Game Pass, make sure it comes out on yours as well and just sell it to people because people will buy it. Like, Game Pass is a great value, but PlayStation has the first parties to keep people there. And so you look at Fall Guys, right? Like, Fall Guys could come to Game Pass. It could have been sold for $10 on PlayStation. I still think a lot of people would buy it for $10 when they saw it would have been a reverse effect, right? They would have seen a bunch of people playing on Xbox.
It's $20 on Steam, and I got it on PlayStation Plus, and I bought it on Steam.
Exactly, and I mean, I think I've always kind of underestimated PlayStation's brand value, but it's very valuable. It is. People fucking love PlayStation, dude. Like, they love the brand. And it's so like Apple, it's creepy because I love Apple and I love buying into that. Like, oh man, it's the best phone, the best experience, da 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 da. For me, I'm not saying in general, but like for me. And it's the same way with PlayStation. It's like, hey, we're the best place to play. And it was just so weird for me to think about. But it's also very humbling because it makes me realize and always understand that do not fall in love with brands. Brands can change things. And a lot of the stuff that I'm disappointed with from Microsoft isn't even Microsoft's fault. xCloud is not their fault. It is Apple's fault. And it sucks. But also, that's why I love Apple. I love that Apple doesn't let people sneak credit card scamming apps and malware, bot feed. I like that it's not letting my location be sent to fucking recipe app. Like, I like that. But the cost of doing business that way is, it sounds like I'm going to miss out on xCloud. So now I'm in this situation where I'm probably going to be switching primary consoles pretty soon, at least for a time. And it sucks, man, because I'm a huge Xbox fan. My other friend that I've been friends with since high school, he's a bigger Xbox fan than I am. Also getting PlayStation 5 at launch. And I'll admit right now, like,
talking about too.
Yeah, he said he's probably going to get it because there's no reason until Halo comes out. Now, he'll probably get one when Halo comes out. And like I said, I'll probably get one too, but I also have a 1X. And it's going to be able to play Halo Infinite for now.
And I think that's the other thing too. You have a 1X, and it works with Game Pass. And you could download it to the console, and it's. I said it. I remember. I'm sure I could pull up the video. I'm not going to, but like the audio clip somewhere, like a year or two ago, where I was like, I think I remember Will and I were talking, and I was like, man, he's like, what console are you gonna get? And it's early on. We don't know what these look like.
Yeah.
What do you think? And I'm like, honestly, man, from the little bit we know, I think the best way to go is PlayStation 5 because it looks like Xbox is pushing Game Pass, and if I can play Game Pass on my PC and on a 1X, like, what is the deal? Like, why would I not change that? And the fact.
So let me. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
sorry.
No. And the fact that Halo Infinite was a big one for me because I talked about it on an episode. Like, ooh, I can get a Series X. And I could put that in the living room, and I could put my 1X in here, and I could use Game Pass and cross saves and stuff, and it'd be easy from a content creation standpoint. It'd be great, but I think Halo Infinite took a lot of steam from Xbox for their launch lineup, but also just from their messaging standpoint, and it really felt like it was like, oh, we don't have Halo Infinite. Game Pass. You love it. We're gonna, we have so many, over thousands of games on there. But I think I remember listening in a podcast where somebody was like, Xbox, I think, is still searching for to make Game Pass the breakout hit is to have the big AAA game on their service day one. And, people tried to spread rumors that it was going to be Cyberpunk, but CD Projekt Red shut that shit down because they know they're going to make money off that. And then Halo Infinite was the game, the big AAA game to say, this is why you need Game Pass, and it's not coming until next year.
So the thing I'll say, I agree with you on that. I look at Xbox's game landing page right now. It is Battletoads at the top. Project Cars 3 is the first non-hero image. Yakuza Like a Dragon, which I will play on Game Pass on the PC or Xbox One X. Spiritfarer out. Ad for Game Pass. Ad for Games with Gold. Ad for a sale. Final Fantasy VII on Game Pass.
Not remake. Not remake.
Yeah, no. OG. Gears Tactics on PC and Dark Picture Management. It's like, and you go over to Sony and it's like, Bug Snacks, Deathloop, Spider-Man Miles, and I'm like,
I love how somehow Bug Snacks, which does not look next gen at all, has somehow become like one of the poster children.
Well, look at Fall Guys doesn't look next gen, but I'd say that game is going to do well on next gen. Like that, next gen doesn't have to be visually stunning, right? Like Spelunky 2 is going to come out next gen, but it's going to be one of the best platformers of the year. Like it doesn't have to be that. I'm playing Undermine right now. It's pixel art shenanigans. I'm loving it, dude. It's super fun. Like That's not what I'm looking for from next gen. I'm not looking for every game to look like Ratchet and Clank, right? Or Horizon. I want the crappy games. What I've loved about Game Pass is a lot of those games, those indie games or smaller games, are free. I get them from day one, right? And I get a chance to try them. Well, I'm going to try them from my PC now.
And you know what? You're talking about the pages. So if I go, just to kind of piggyback and kind of reiterate what you were saying. So if I go to the PlayStation 5's main webpage, PlayStation.com/ENUS/PS5. Actually, let me see if I can. Let's go to PlayStation 5's main webpage here.
Yep.
When I scroll down, like I scroll through that page, the page isn't that long, and probably after scrolling, like you have the consoles, the first thing you see is a video, the Play Has No Limits video, which I think is just like their controller, that weird thing that we were talking about. But under that, I'm seeing. Hold on, nope. Let me go back. Sorry.
I mean, the first character you see is Aloy.
Yeah, you scroll down, you see a video of the screen, you have a quick little lineup of the accessories, and you have Aloy, then you've got the games you want. Play Has No Limits, and I think that's probably their sizzle reel trailer that they have. They have all their games from their conference. And then you have pictures of games that are coming to the console.
And I think DualSense is interesting. I'm very interested. I'm so interested to see what it does.
But when you go over to the Xbox Series X landing page, it's the landing page is like Series X, fastest, most powerful. It's got the console. Almost the entire page is just all the tech that goes into it.
Yeah.
Re-engineered, designed, and like you have to scroll to almost 3/4 of the way down the page before you start seeing games for the console.
Okay, so the first game you see is on the Play More Wait Less. It is State of Decay 2. Good game. Not next gen.
Yeah.
And then you scroll further down. At this point, we're below the 50%, so this is going to be less than 10% of your viewers are going to actually get to this far. And then, we get to Halo Infinite.
Yeah. And it has like 5 spread there. And I think that's one of the big things. And that's so interesting because Xbox has done so good with their marketing and detailing and like their news to gamers this year and making stuff easy to consume. And yet their page is still so focused on the console itself instead of like, these are the reasons you want to, these are, you still want to have the details and why it's the most powerful, but like you said, 10% of your people are going to go down to the thing that I think that most gamers care about are the games. Like, what are the games that are going to be on this console?
Yep. It's rough. I'll tell you, I was shook this month. I was really shook this month because I do find myself in a situation, not quite, I think a lot of people like very starkly switched to PlayStation after the Xbox One debacle, right? Like a lot of people just insta switched. The PlayStation could have announced it $100 more and they probably still would have switched, right? Because of just how bad that messaging was. But this has been like a slow creeping kind of switch, right? Like I'm glad you told me about that area down at the bottom. I'm looking at these games, Fable, that's 2 years out minimum. Not a Forza guy, Valhalla multiplat, Destiny 2 multiplat on PC. Avowed looks super dope. Again, I can play it on PC. It's that PC thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but when it comes to console hype,
for console
the ability
specifically.
To play for console specifically. Now, if my PC were to explode tomorrow, I would have to ask myself, do I need to get I need to build a new PC or
and that's one of the things too. As much as PCs, it's awesome, and people can say, "Oh, we've got a PC," I'm good, but console has that ease of use. You plug it in, you download the game, you play the game. You don't have to worry about drivers, and if there's a bug or an issue with it, downloading a patch or figuring out that, like, oh, my audio codec isn't working, or anything like that. Not saying that happens all the time on PC, but that can happen, as opposed to play, go.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about this, and I know I've been very down on Xbox, but I'm going to be real. It's been a down Xbox kind of month. It's really been rough. And I will say Flight Simulator looks great. Bing Maps made it awesome, but that's not
just have to clear out 200 gigs on my hard drive so I can play it.
Yeah, and so the last thing I'm going to talk about is in regards to one of the things that I've always liked about Xbox is the ecosystem has allowed me to know that my game saves are safe. My game purchases are going to work. I was really excited about the idea of all my digital purchases being playable on xCloud. A lot of that's gone now, at least on the xCloud part. I think I'm really waiting to see from Sony. I think that Sony's going to do some changes to the way that they handle cloud saves and stuff. I think they're going to finally catch up a little bit on that front. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
We'll see.
We'll see. But when I look at what Microsoft is doing right now, I am excited to play the games on Game Pass. I've already paid for that. It's done. There's no need for me to go drop whether it's $400 or $600 to buy this thing, at least until 2023. Then at that time, I can kind of reconsider and be like, okay, do I want to keep paying $15 a month and play this on my PC that's going to cost $2,000 if I rebuild? Or do I want to buy this thing? And at that point, I'm going to be enjoying the choice that Microsoft has given me, right? I can choose between buying my games or subscribing to them. I can choose between PC or Xbox. But the last thing that factors into this, we were talking earlier in the Rocket Punch show about Call of Duty, right? Mm-hmm. Call of Duty has this cross-buy thing, generational purchase thing.
Yeah.
I think Control's also kind of doing another, you buy the PS5 version and you get it. It would be awesome if the world were kumbaya, everyone's great, every game uses smart delivery, every game gets a free upgrade to PS5. But the reality is that publishers want it to be the way it was. And so that being the case, not buying a PlayStation 5 for a year hurts you. If you buy Cyberpunk on PS4 and then that window for getting the PS5 version expires because, you couldn't afford the PS5 right now, and you buy a PS5, you're going to have to rebuy that game on PS5 for another $70 probably by that time. Whereas if you buy the PlayStation 5 day one and go all in day one on PlayStation 5 and you don't look back for anything other than it can still play the games, but I'm not going to buy Valhalla for PlayStation 4. I'm going to get it for $5. I'm not going to buy any game for PlayStation 4. I'm going to get it for $5. If you do that, you're protecting yourself from ever being disappointed or having to rebuy a game. You're paying a little bit more, probably, because games are going to be $70, but you're locking yourself into future-proof. The same technically goes for Xbox, but again, there's no need to buy it right now. So you would just be buying it to try and buy yourself into that generation. But Microsoft said most of this stuff is you're going to be able to smart delivery a lot of stuff from Microsoft. So if you're only using Game Pass, you don't have to buy this thing anytime soon if you have a One X. I do think they stopped selling the One X because it will be a considerable competing console for a while. And if it really... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, and I'm just adding in, if it's... especially my hunch on why they discontinued the Xbox One X is the Xbox Series S. And if the rumored specs of that system, which are somewhat closer to the Xbox One X, they just have the new next generation processor and GPU, so things will look better and you can get the ray tracing and stuff. I think that was the reason for killing the One X, because if that's the case, then if you're a One X owner, there might even be more of a reason for you not to upgrade.
I gotta say, I'll eat my words on this because I was always a huge proponent of previous gen doesn't hold next gen back. I don't think that it does. Didn't think that it did. I will eat my words and say, looking at Ratchet and Clank, right? I think that if that game had tried to come to PlayStation 4, it would not be what it is, right? It would not have that teleportation mechanic, which I think is going to be core to that game, right? Mm-hmm. Now, could you argue that some of these PS5 exclusives could run on PS4? Yes, Bugsnax could run on PS4. But at the end of the day, Sony's running their business. They're going to run their business, right? But I look at this and I'm like, what happens when the Series S comes out? And they've got to be so clear on what that thing does. Because if it's really going to be $200 cheaper, there's something in it that's compromised. And it could be the graphics. So then we have to ask ourselves, is Halo Infinite getting, did it look that way because they're trying to make it run on a $300 piece of hardware? That's the kind of, and I know it's those kind of worms that just burrow into your ears and you're you start to question your own purchases. Mm-hmm. But I also have to be you know what? I go to that PlayStation page. Yep, there's 2 consoles. They're both the same. Which one has a slot on it?
The difference is, one
I
has
scroll
a slot,
down.
one does not.
I scroll down. Sexy ass controller, sexy ass headset, sexy ass media remote, charging station. It's this whole new thing, and I think it's what you talked about. It's the new. It's like getting something new feels really good. Building that new PC feels good. Getting that new monitor feels good. And yeah, it's gonna be tough to think about. Like, I'm gonna buy this new Xbox, and the game I'm gonna boot up on it to play, to test it out. Sea of Thieves? Gears? Like, I don't want to play Gears. I just be booting it up to see how it runs, right? Like,
showcase. Oh man, looks a whole lot better.
And like, I hate to say this because it makes me sound like a flippy floppy, I guess. But like, also,
you're not a flippy floppy.
I'm real with people. Like, go with the thing that's the best work value for you. I love that Microsoft and PlayStation are competing with each other, because now I get to decide which of these game consoles is going to be the right one for me. And heck, they might even be cheaper than I thought, because they're going to be price warring over it, right?
Yep.
So it feels weird though. And like I was telling you earlier, I'm very excited for Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. And there's a pre-order page up for that collector's edition, and I got to choose between Xbox and PlayStation 5. And specifically, they're both physical editions. So I'm like, well, the Xbox Series X has the physical drive. But if I'm going to be playing mostly PlayStation 5, shouldn't I get it on PS5? Well, I was planning on getting that digital edition, but... So I really need more details. So, knock on wood, as soon as this podcast goes live, they're going to announce...
We're going to wake up tomorrow morning, and they're going to be like, get excited for the Xbox or PlayStation reveal to show you how much this thing costs and all the rest of the details you need to know to pre-order the system.
And I hope so, because then I would feel a lot less worse about wasting some of our time talking about things that don't matter in 4 hours than making everybody else will continue to wait, ourselves included, to find out details. Because I think we're getting to that point now where people are starting to want to know at least price, because we got a plan.
People have wanted to know price for like the last month and a half.
Yeah, like a launch date, launch it whenever you feel like, dude. But let me know the price so that I can know.
So I can start budgeting money for it right now.
Yeah, because like I got to buy Christmas gifts for my friends and family. I've got money set aside for it. It's a lot of money set aside for it, but it'd be really nice if I knew, like, oh, I don't have to set any more aside because this thing's only $500. I've set aside $800, so I've got a $300 head start on my Christmas. You know, that kind of stuff starts to come into play. So I think September is going to be the magic time, but I know we've talked for a long time, so we're just going to jump right into the last part here, which is who do we think won? It's PlayStation, dude. Like,
it's Sony.
They didn't show up, but they won because Microsoft just had such a devastating month when it comes to confidence.
Like it may sound grave, but I don't want it to sound grave, but I just need people to understand, like, Microsoft losing Halo Infinite as launch title is a big deal, and
because all their chips were on it. All the chips were on it,
and I think that honestly, at the beginning of the month when this got announced, I was still like, it got delayed, but I think they'll be okay. I think this could turn people away from buying it day one, but I think just as the month went on, and I think I really just think Halo Infinite getting delayed just through, Microsoft had this perfect plan of like, here's how we're gonna announce stuff. We're gonna be bold. This is how we're gonna release and talk about stuff. And I think Halo getting delayed threw all that out of whack, because there were heavy rumors that we were supposed to get the price this month in August from Xbox. And I bet money that Halo Infinite getting delayed basically put like a whoa, hold on a second, and slow down on that, as they try and kind of not necessarily reevaluate the price, but kind of like reevaluate, like, ooh, what stuff can we put in an announcement video for the console to get people to buy it for next generation.
Listen, Craig the Brute had the melee heard around the world, dude. When he meleeed Chief, when he went to melee Chief, he meleeed the Xbox.
He didn't know it. He just didn't know it.
He didn't know it at the time, but he's like Marauder Shields. He's a legend. He heralded a new age. That's a deep cut. That's a deep BioWare cut at this point.
I just, Sony still, I know we've talked about it on the Rock Punch show, like, we still don't know, like, we expect a lot of other games to get delayed. So, there could be a realm in which case none of these consoles have anything of particular import to launch with on day one. In which case we may...
That doesn't matter. Like honestly, if Miles Morales gets delayed to 2021, I don't think it... People have been talking about should they delay consoles. No, they should not. Remember back in March when we were like, oh, we'll be done with this by June. We're like, I can promise you, next year in June, there will be another... We will still be dealing with this until there is a vaccine. There will still be all this, right?
Yeah.
And, I live in Alabama. We both live in Alabama. Alabama's putting its head down and like trying to bull through some of it. And surprise, schools are reopening and things are not going well. So like, we're in this for the long haul. So if Spider-Man gets delayed to next year, do not delay the PlayStation 5. Get the thing out there. Let the people go ahead and enjoy it. Get it. And, even if it's playing PlayStation 4 games on it, people want that new. Like, it's kind of like when Animal Crossing came out, like, people just wanted to play it. Like, we just wanted it to save us from this, right? And a new console would be great for a lot of people to have had such a shitty year to now have something really fun and exciting and new to look at. But, yeah, did the games get delayed so that they're, able to get done? Yes, but... Again, I think with like the PlayStation 5, Bugsnax is going to come out. Like, you can play that. It's going to come with that Astrobot game. There's going to be stuff to do on it, but wouldn't surprise me if there's more delays to come from it. I think Cyberpunk's going to get delayed again. I have questions about whether or not Halo Infinite is going to be coming to Xbox One. It might be Series X and PC only. Like,
there have been a lot of rumors about that. Yeah,
it's anything's possible right now, because once Halo Infinite got delayed, to me that was impossible. There was no way. They've been working on it for 6 years. There's no way they do it. It's launching with a new console. There's no way. This is the new moment, and they've really fumbled that in a way that's shook me to my love of Xbox core, so much so that I am 100% for sure delaying my purchase of the Series X. There's even a risk in there that I'm going to get that PlayStation 5. I'm going to love that DualSense. I'm going to love the haptic feedback stuff, and that might just be the way that it works. And then this show dies on the the limb because nobody here fucking plays the Xbox stuff. But I'll play it on PC. But I don't think it's not fair to say that I'm the Xbox guy if I don't fucking own an Xbox. Like, I don't think that's fair to a lot of people.
That's true. I mean, all in all, I think. I agree with you. I think September is going to be the month. I think it would have been this month if not for Halo Infinite getting delayed and Microsoft saying, whoa there. And then PlayStation saying, whoa, we're going to wait too. I think that next month is going to be the month. So I'm really excited for episode 7. Hopefully we can talk. Once we get the full breakdown and shakedown, we can really have a conversation about, like, here's what each side is offering. And then really, I will be happy when I can finally say, like, with 100% certainty, like, this is my purchase plan going into next generation. So
we'll see what it is. So, what a great episode! It was not great from the standpoint of I had to eat a lot of my words, but it was a great.
But we don't know that, we didn't know what was going to happen, and I think nobody knew that. I think everybody assumed no. Halo's been in the cooker for years. They've been pumping this game up, so of course it's gonna stay on track. And the fact that it's getting delayed was a big deal.
And I got one last little thing. And I've talked a lot about like stuff that's just kind of disappointed me. Like, I'm gonna talk real quick about this Xbox experience behind me.
Yep.
I booted it up on my 1S thing that came out in 2017.
2016.
Super slick. It's like a whole new visual thing, but it's the same thing. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, one of the things that I loved most about booting up the Xbox One was getting to see that new interface, right? Like that Metro tiles. I know they were crap at the time. Nobody liked it, but like I thought it was really cool. And same goes for PlayStation. I'm sure there's a lot of PlayStation fans who love that new cross-media bar evolution they did, and like it's fun. And I just booted it up, and I was like, well, this is it. I got it. I have it here on this $200 Xbox that I've had for 2.5 years, or 2 years or whatever. And, I'm going to get it on the other one. And the Series X is going to run the same way. And I'm not saying that I think that this is a bad idea, because I think that what Xbox is doing, they've got to do this. They have to unify everything in one banner. And they'll probably get to the point where they were in Xbox One. If you remember, every month they were pushing new updates.
Yep.
If you remember that. And
I
with
think
that
they will,
and with that insider program that they have, it allows them to test things so fast. You don't even know from a design standpoint. Having a program like that makes it so easy to validate decisions without wasting a ton of development time. You could push it out as a test to a small group of people, see how they use it, get the feedback, and either put it in or take it out. Like, it's so important to get that kind of feedback. But in the console transition, it sucks, because I really want I want something shiny and new to play around with, right? I want a shiny new controller. I want a shiny new interface. I want to dissect it, and I just don't feel like I'm going to get that. I think Microsoft is playing a longer game of trying to make a more powerful box. I do think they're pushing for that. That's going to really convert people over time. Like, you're one Batman Arkham Knight away from people being like, well, I'm not buying the shit on PlayStation. I'm not buying multi-plats on PlayStation anymore because that version was crap and the Xbox version looks so good and ran at 60 frames per second, 4K. Like, I'm going to buy it there from now on. And then that's the seed to get them to switch full time, right? Like, get Game Pass, and then they're bought in. So that is, I think, what they're doing. But in this 2021 time frame, like, it's just a no-brainer at this point. Like, go buy a PlayStation 5. Like,
do it.
That's just the truth. So,
well, we'll find out. I think, like, whenever we get these big reveals, we're gonna have an episode, and we're gonna get the official seals from both of us. Like, this is what you need to do.
Yeah, this is what we should do. So I assumed, I've got vacation coming up, but if these reveals happen, we will most likely try and do some nightly recap shows, right?
Yeah, we will figure it out. Yeah, whenever, we'll see. I actually really hope they don't say anything this week. I'm like, fuck. Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna say it this week for next week.
God,
on Friday when I'll be gone. I'm going on vacation for a while, so I'll be out of town. But the fact here is, let's hope that they wait till the end of the month when I'm back and we can do something live.
But guys, thank you so much. This is episode 6 of Console Wars. Appreciate you guys listening in. Remember, if you want to hear the show early, head over to patreon.com/rocketpunch and find out how you can do that and get a whole lot more. And to help support the show. But as always, guys, if you want to check out any of our content like the Rocket Punch Show, the Twitch streams, or YouTube videos, head over to rocketpunchgo.com to find everything you need from Rocket Punch. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We'll talk to you next month.